SMTN.
How's it going, everybody, and welcome to Shin Megami Tensei Network, link 235. I'm your host, Spencer Presley, and joining me on this very special episode of the podcast is Sidney from Video Games Plus. Sidney, how are you doing tonight?
Not too bad, not too bad. How are you, Spencer?
I am good. I am excited. I don't know why, when I was saying the name of VGP, I had two thoughts go in my head. One, I always think it's funny because in the back of my head, after I always say it, I remember the CA, just because it's probably the only Canadian website I ever frequent. And number two, thinking how not only are you guys our first retailer guest in terms of like people who like sell video games, you guys are also our like back-to-back Canadian guests, because we just had Matt from Udon, who I somehow have known about as a company forever, but never knew Udon was also from Canada.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, but how are you doing? It's we're recording this a little bit earlier than everyone else is hearing it, so we're coming off of the high of the PlayStation showcase. But how was your Thursday treating you?
Not too bad so far. Just doing the usual rounds, getting ready for the weekend.
So let's say someone out there has been living under a rock. They don't follow us on Twitter or Facebook, or they just don't know who you or VGP are. What is the little bit of an intro of who you are, what you do at VGP, and what Video Games Plus is?
Well, we've been online for a long time. Over, I would say, over 15, close to 20 years now. We kind of started, back in the day. When the internet was first starting off, when Amazon was kind of still selling books, and we kind of just branched off from selling, the occasional item online, like on eBay and stuff, to our actual website, and then we kind of just grew it from there. We did the company as a whole started off as a retail store. And over the years, we've had multiple locations. Some of those locations have closed just because of, just like every retail store, sometimes locations don't do as well. But we still have our flagship store in Toronto. And now we've just, as you probably are aware, we've just upgraded our website. So, it's because that was one of our biggest complaints. Even though our old website was very custom, was missing a lot of the features that customers are now accustomed to. So we've upgraded that, and we plan to do a lot more upgrades in the next months and hopefully years to come to better serve our customers and to give them additional options.
You guys mentioning your store getting upgraded and stuff, and how long you guys have been around, I'm trying to think back, because I've known about VGP for at least a decade. Ironically, I don't think I ordered anything from you guys until probably like around like 2012 or like 2013. Like, you guys just had some random deal on a bunch of PlayStation Vita stuff. And hilariously, due to either sales or like currency exchange, it was just like super cheap to get it from you as opposed to almost anyone else, and the shipping was like super fast. So in like the last couple like almost like I said, like almost like decade or so of ordering stuff every now and then from you, I never really had any complaints with the website, but I wasn't ever really trying to do anything that crazy. Like, what were like the changes you guys had to do in terms of, like you mentioned, like modern conveniences?
Well, our old website was very custom, and it didn't have like a proper mobile site. it didn't have a proper mobile site. The layout was kind of archaic in terms of how modern websites look. So we kept getting complaints about the speed, and regardless of what server we moved to, it was just based on the programming of the website. Like we could not speed up the website for ease of use. So because we used to get a lot of people complaining about the speed, and we like your service, but or navigation issues with the search bar or something like that. So we looked at different shopping carts, and we've upgraded now, and we plan to make more, like I said, more changes as the months go by, and add new features and stuff as people, because some of the features that we did have that were custom are still not there.
Mm-hmm.
But we are slowly adding them, but we're just trying to see what's better for in terms of negate, and we don't want to over clutter the website either, but we do want to give customers what a kind of experience that they deserve, right?
Yeah, and I mean that's definitely kind of, because I'm looking at it right now. Like I remember back in the old days, it would have like, I think you guys almost had like 20 or so different like consoles listed, which is like now obviously kind of more sunk down of like, okay, there's classics for everything older, and then there's PS4, PS5, Xbox, Switch, and then anything that's like more like limited and stuff. Just because the nice thing about your shop is, let's say, yeah, oh my gosh, yeah, because I was thinking of all the people you guys had collabed with now, and it's really funny of like looking at, you guys pretty much have almost all of the ones that exist in terms of the limited print game market, in terms of like, oh, I missed something at, I know like for me, the last like 2 Play Asia exclusives, I have been horrendously 5 minutes late on and missed them all, but I was able to get them through you guys. And then you guys have been getting like limited run stuff, I Am 8-Bit, Strictly Limited, and all those other ones like that. For just out of curiosity, when did that kind of start in terms of looking to? I don't even know like what the right word would be, because is it really like I don't know, because like, before the most I'd really known about it was like, oh, if you were like a mom and pop shop, limited run would send you stuff if you wanted to order things through a different channel than the website, but they were kind of a little stricter about online, whereas they've definitely loosened up in terms of things. So like, when did that kind of start for you guys of like reaching out to those like harder to find like limited release companies?
Well, pretty much, we've always been really known for we've always been really known for like the RPG scene. We represent P Cube as well, so they do a lot of the visual novels and a lot of Japanese video games, and now they're branching off into more indie stuff as well. And we have really good relationships with the partners that we deal with, like Sega and Atlas, and Idea Factory is one of the other ones that we partner with. And then we do we started dabbing into the Japanese import scene. And then when limited run started and other limited print companies, we reached out to some of them, and we have a good relationship with all of them, that we deal with right now. And we're always looking for, I'm usually the guy that kind of reaches out and tries to contact the limited print companies, because we're always willing to work with anybody. But some people, they just, some companies just want to sell, themselves, and we're okay with that. Everybody has their own their own agenda. So we're just trying to give gamers different choices online. And some people, unfortunately, some companies are based out in Europe, and if the customers in the U.S., sometimes they're not comfortable, buying from Europe, or vice versa, right? Where sometimes the shipping internationally is very expensive from limited companies in the U.S. So we're just that extra option, right? Even for Canadians, a lot of Canadians come to our website, so they can get titles. And a lot of the deals that we do with limited print companies are more just to to help Canadian gamers and some international gamers, and of course American gamers that miss out, like from these other limited print companies, a second opportunity sometimes to get in on stuff. Sometimes we're the first choice, but a lot of times, they do get the support directly. So the limited print companies, we basically buy a certain amount of the allocation of whatever they make. So they still are the main bread and butter. But we just kind of wanted to give customers kind of like an all-in-one experience, right? Because like most places it's very hard to like go somewhere and buy different publishers mixed with a Mario, right?
Oh yeah,
So
yeah, like 100%. It's very much like, especially in like the world of like collecting, which I think like a lot of our listeners are. It's hard to kind of have that all-in-one stop, let alone any level of convenience. Whereas like if you want to just collect like whatever, like in terms of like a normally released like game, you can go on to a Walmart or an Amazon or a Best Buy, add them to your cart, not have to worry about them selling out in like an hour. But even for something like this, where we are dealing with things that are printed in much smaller quantities, it is nice to kind of have, even if like VGP isn't someone's like first choice to like go get something, similar like to me with like the PlayAsia stuff, is like if I miss out through PlayAsia, then I will immediately have you guys kind of as like a safety net, and then by virtue of me doing that and other people doing that, it's been, oh my gosh, now I got to tell my friends about it, because if I missed out, usually my friends also missed out, and then just kind of having more people know about you guys as... Because normally it'd be very rare for someone to just be like, oh my god, I had to order this one thing, and then you never order anything else from them. Because like I remember one of the things that like brought me back, actually, funnily enough, to your guys' site was a lot of the P-Cube stuff, but around the same time, and this kind of goes back into what you were saying about who you guys work with, I think one of the first, if not, like I'm probably forgetting something, but one of the like really bigger reprints you guys did was when you reprinted the first 5 Yakuza games from Yakuza 1, 2, 3, 4, and like Dead Souls. And it was funny just because it had been so long since those games had been out, but Yakuza 0 was such a big deal. I was hearing so many new people kind of talk to you guys about that. I'm not sure how much you can really get into that, but when did kind of doing these late reruns start, if you have any idea of the specifics, and how does that really work in terms of you all contacting the publisher?
Well, like I stated before, we have really good relationships with Sega and Atlas and other publishers that we deal with. So it usually never works in the publisher doesn't reach out to us and say, hey, do you want to reprint this?
Wouldn't that make it so much easier? Like, you're going to have Sony come up to you tomorrow, like, hey, do you guys want us to reprint 3D Dot Game Heroes or the Puppeteer? Like, could you guys just like buy copies from us? Like, wouldn't that like be so much easier than you having to like reach out to everyone?
Well, sometimes, like, as much as sometimes people want a reprint, sometimes it's just not possible because of licenses change from the original vendor, or licenses expire. So it's not a matter of like nobody wants to do it. It's just there's more red tape, right?
Oh yeah, and especially with like those like Japanese companies, and not even Japanese companies, like just I think like when you get to a certain level of like how profitable these companies are, you kind of have to like almost sell them on it, even if it's making them easy money. If it's not enough money, a lot of companies will just go like, well, what's the point in doing it if we're only going to make like $10,000 as opposed to $250,000?
Right, and in those specifics, I'm not sure. We basically go to a vendor and we suggest a title that we want to reprint. And we try to reprint. You've probably seen a lot of the reprints that we do that we put online. We see them being like gouged online on Amazon and eBay for a lot of money. So we try to just bring things a little bit back down to earth sometimes. I mean, sometimes these titles are not available, unfortunately, because, like I said, due to licensing or other issues, or the vendor just doesn't want to reprint them. In other terms, sometimes the title just doesn't have enough traction to move enough units, so nobody does it, or we won't do it. But there are a lot of games out there that we're we're always looking to do reprints on a lot of titles. I can't just divulge any, but and some happen, some don't. That's basically the gist of it.
So, from your guys' perspective, is it less talking to the publisher and more of like the vendor who usually ends up working through the publisher?
Well, some publishers we have direct partnerships with, and sometimes it's a vendor. So, I mean, if we deal with a vendor that deals with the publisher, we just kind of put the request in with the vendor, and the vendor puts the request into the publisher, and then the publisher denies or approves it.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not as hard as as some people think. I mean, sometimes there are contracts and especially now we're in a different era now with limited prints. So a lot of licenses are tied behind limited print companies. So when that happens, a lot of those games obviously will never be reprinted because they only make 5,000 or 3,000 or 1,500 or something like that, right?
There's the weirdest thing, and this has been going on in our Discord a lot recently, of Shantae almost primarily has been getting, or not even just Shantae, Way Forward stuff in general. They've been very, very closely tied with limited run games ever since they released Risky's Revenge and The Pirate's Curse on PS4. And what was so funny about that is Limited Run's whole thing is obviously they do the one run, and then they don't ever do it again unless it's for another system or something. And they've always said, oh, well, the rights always go back to whoever. And my biggest thing is, the last year, especially on Switch, the Shantae games have just been amazingly, not even in a good way, horrendously, gouged in price, and not gouged oh, no one's buying these. I sold a copy of Shantae and the Pirate's Curse on Switch because I have it on 3 other platforms, and I was never going to play the Switch one anyway. But I mean, honestly, I also sold it because it was I got over $500 for it used. Of this game I paid $30 for or whatever. And it was one of those funny things of talking to people about it, of obviously Limited Run's never going to do it again for that same system, but I just don't understand how no company has gone up to Way Forward and just been hey, reprint this. If people are still to this day buying copies for 50 times its original MSRP, it always kind of boggles my mind, especially on the smaller company sides Way Forward. Why not just reprint that until you have fulfilled all of those demands and needs,
Yeah, I really can't. I have no idea how their agreements are.
Well,
so I really can't comment.
No, I mean, yeah, and I know you're not going to. I mean, I've seen the contracts. They're the limited run contracts for everybody are almost usually a very uniform thing of here's the rules, here's the breakdown. It's very public. It's just one of those funny things of I think what it is a gentleman's agreement for both companies that hey, it's kind of nice that all of our games are put through this one thing, because that way they all get the, because something like a Shantae, even though it is pretty big in the smaller scale of game series, it's not a game that does good at retail. When Shantae was at retail for oh my god, why am I forgetting, Half Genie Hero. Half Genie Hero was on store shelves forever. It wasn't selling off the shelves on Wii U, PS4, and Vita. It was just one of those things of at retail, something like that doesn't really make sense, but something in a limited sense obviously goes there. But going back a little bit more to you guys, I have one that I cannot believe. I hope you all were aware of how much you struck gold, or I assume struck gold on this, when Metroid Dread got announced, and apparently everyone in the world finally wanted to play Samus Returns on 3DS after years of that game just being out. When you guys announced your reprint, were you just like oh they're gonna be like everyone's gonna be so happy for this because like people were like it's like all the copies got Thanos off the face of the earth once Dread got announced. Like your guys' release of that was like just perfect timing.
Yeah. I mean, it was we had just kind of done it. We had just kind of done it, and we said, you know what, it might not even sell because most people would already have it, right?
Mm-hmm.
We just took a gamble on it, and it did really well. It gained us a lot of traffic to our website, which was good, and it made a lot of people happy because a lot of people, I guess maybe at the time, they weren't really thinking about it, right? Because it was 3DS, and a lot of people had already moved on to Switch.
Yep.
But a lot of people who got it or getting into the Metroid 2D buzz, they started picking it up. And then I think we had the other one on. We had Metroid Prime Federation Force as well, and a lot of people just picked up the combo to get free shipping. Because that's one thing that a lot of people do like on our website. They combine a lot of our specials and get free shipping.
Yeah, so with something like that, did you guys reach out to Nintendo? Was that a vendor thing? What was like the turnaround time on that?
Well, that one in particular, I believe it was reprinted somewhere else, and we just ended up picking it up.
Wow,
and,
what like amazing luck. I mean, obviously Nintendo could probably have some hindsight for that, but I think it was just one of those funny things of people had just assumed, especially because there hasn't been a new 3DS game on retail shelves since 2019. So like for a new printing in 2021, it was just very like out of left field, but thankfully in a good way.
Yeah.
Now, a weird one with that, so kind of going back to other companies and stuff, another reprint you guys did that I thought was very serendipitous to the release timing and stuff was the Sonic 3DS games. I think it was like what, like all, it was like 4, because it was the 2 Boom games, Generations, and Racing Transformed. Was that another one of just stumbling across a bunch of copies, or was that something you guys had reached out to Sega with leading up to the 30th anniversary?
Partially in regards to the anniversary, because the Sonic 30th anniversary was coming up, so we kind of wanted to have them all in stock. I mean, Sonic is pretty much like a Mario; it's a very evergreen title.
Mm-hmm.
So we just did that promotion to kind of, if you haven't picked up these Sonic games, right? And now's the year. So. It was and it would have been great if the second movie came out too. So, but I think that's next year in theaters.
It's we're living in a weird world where like the most exciting Sonic things I have going for me as a Sonic fan are the movie, and I could care less about the games. It's like I just played Sonic Colors, and I was like, I'd never actually touched the Wii version, and I was like, oh right, I can finally play this, and I was like, oh, it's okay. I actually enjoyed the 2D DS one like a lot more, but they're very, very different games.
Oh, okay. I'm actually very surprised they have not remastered Sonic Adventure from Dreamcast. That was my favorite.
There's got to be a weird like legal reason they've just never told anyone about, because I think like it just makes too much sense. But then you think about all the ports they've done of that game, of like. The Dreamcast one had its issues, but then every port after that, from like the GameCube to PlayStation 3, 360, there have been weird technical bugs, even like on the PC one. So I think it's one of those weird ones of like, I bet it's a weird technical thing where it's probably too expensive to justify, and then I feel like almost every Sega remaster that has come out has had to like change the music just because either licensing or something, which is funny because you would think, well, you're Sega, you probably own all the music licensing for X title, but it's not always the case.
Right.
Now, another weird one that I've had a bajillion questions for, and I'm not going to hold my breath for anything too exciting, but I do have you here. and this is a podcast about Atlas games. Do you guys have any plans this month or anything leading up that might correlate with the Persona 25th anniversary, since it is the 25th anniversary? And I don't know if you guys are aware, for some reason, the internet has decided to make a lot of 3DS games really expensive from Atlas over the last 2 years.
We have been internally discussing doing something for the anniversary, but we haven't decided 100% of what we can and cannot do. It all really depends on, you know, what type of promotion would kind of be even worthwhile. I mean, a lot of games have already gone on sale and stuff like that. You know, and it's not like you can reman, you know, older games like for PS2 because they don't make PS2 games anymore.
They were for so long. They were making, remember, like, it was they were making PS1 games until 2019. How insane is that?
There's still PS1 games out there.
Well, I mean freshly made at Sony's factory. Like, Sony's factories were making PS1, 2... They're still doing 3, although no one wants to do 3 games anymore. Well, actually, no, that's not true. You guys did Nier this year, which I don't know if that was actually newly printed copies or found ones, but that was another one of, like, Nier got really expensive with the remake/remaster this year, and I was one of those people as well. Like, oh man, I had played Nier, but I had, like, given away my copy or something forever ago, and I was like, oh, I'd really like to play the original, but it just went from like $20-$30 to like $60-$70, and that was usually in like used and bad condition. So like that was a really, really great timing re-release on that one. So were those ones like newly printed PS3 games, that and Drakengard?
Yeah, we reman PS3 games all the time. We have been for years. Sometimes it's just, you know, when we reman them, we reman like a large quantity, and then sometimes it takes a while to get them back into stock afterwards. Mm-hmm. But, you know, Nier, Drakengard, Silent Hill collection, Metal Gear Solid Legacy collection, those are like some of the popular ones people pick up. We just did the Bethesda games like Fallout and Skyrim Special Edition as well for PS3. And there's other ones that come up too. We've done some reprints before with when we did the Yakuzas, right? We did Yakuza 3 and 4 back in the day as well, when we did all 4 of them.
Now, I'm actually trying to look back on myself, because I said Dead Souls, but I'm actually trying to think of if you guys actually did. Did you guys actually reprint Dead Souls, or was it just 1, 2, 3, and 4?
Dead Souls was not a reprint. No, we never did that one.
Is that like
we did 1, 2,
was that like
1, 2, 3?
Okay, was that one of those cases of just because of how unpopular Dead Souls was, or just like a don't want to like overblow everything?
I think at the time when we did them, I think there was a lot of pieces still on the market, mm-hmm. and the value of the title was very low. Like you could get it on the cheap at the time. I'm not sure what it is like now.
I have bad. Yeah, I was gonna say I have bad news. It's really I was so used to seeing it bargain binned forever, and I went into a used game store. It was $170 used. And I was like, wow! And the guy was like, do you want it? And I'm like, no! I was like, it's already not a great game, but like, at that price, I'm like, no, I extra can't justify that to myself.
Right.
So that was one of those funny ones of like just how weird, especially recently, like the video game market has been. I mean, I'm sure you guys have noticed like from like the quarantine starting to everything, like was there like a weird uptick you guys had noticed of like, wow, people are really into buying blank now?
well, with COVID and everybody locked down last year, like the whole video game industry just had a massive boom. And it was pretty much kind of general across the board on anything. Titles that you wouldn't really think would sold.
Mm-hmm.
And more just and I think just more because people couldn't really go anywhere, right? So a lot of titles were, people were doing online ordering and stuff like that. So it it's just been overly an uptick. But there is now I was actually very surprised they still stuck to PS5 coming out and Xbox One X, Xbox Series X. So then that's added another platform to the mix. So
Yeah, and it's been funny. I was talking to a friend of mine recently of the collector market has been so weird now with PlayStation, like with Xbox physically buying the way they have smart delivery, you're still producing the same disc in the same box at the end of the day. But a lot of publishers have been kind of facing this weird like double-edged sword of there's 100 million PlayStation 4 owners out there who could purchase a game physically, stick it in their system, and play it. And there are now 10 million PlayStation 5s out there with potential people, but the collector's market, which was buying up anything and everything PlayStation 4, has moved over to PS5, and they don't want to buy two copies of the same game if they could have something on PlayStation 5. So, but the problem with that has then been like the publishers having to make a completely different thing to order. You're basically ordering twice as many games, and unless you're charging more for it, which only a few publishers are, it's one of those weird ones of like you're producing fewer of these things that less people can buy, and the ones that you're producing in higher quantities, your dedicated fans aren't wanting that version of the platform. So it's a really weird like time to be into like physical production for like the larger games and stuff like that. And it's been one of those interesting things of like seeing a case like with like Fatal Frame. Fatal Frame is coming out on like everything, but if you want a physical copy, you can only get it on PlayStation 4 and Switch. Like even though it's going to be on Xbox, PlayStation 5, like those platforms just don't make sense for like Koei Tecmo to print on everything.
Yeah, Fatal Frame is a tricky one because no one we haven't even a lot of people are asking us about that title all the time because it's on other websites. Right now it's on like a lot of the Asia websites like Play Asia.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, we don't have any confirmed information on it, so that's why we haven't really opened up pre-orders. We try not to jump the gun and announce or something that could be speculated, right? So we have I haven't seen any confirmation that that title will come out physical or not. I don't know.
Yeah, it's been kind
Right
of
now,
weirdly up in the air, and especially with a couple other things like I was actually just looking on your website for it. I was wondering if you guys had Ninja Gaiden. Yeah, because like Play Asia, I feel like has been working really closely with like Koei Tecmo, but then when they get a lot of their bigger stuff, like with Atelier or Ninja Gaiden and stuff like that, of like trying to keep, because they're usually so much more expensive, just because they're going to be so niche and stuff and such a large run, sticking to one site and stuff for it and things like that. But I hope it gets more. And see, that's like the tough thing though, of like then people coming to you for Fatal Frame, is like you guys probably don't have like an easy answer or solution for like anyone of like. It's not like you can just go to Koei Tecmo in America and be like, okay, cool, can we make Xbox and PS5 copies physically?
well, I think the issue with that particular title is not so much like they haven't even announced when it's coming out yet.
Really?
I don't.
I thought it had a release date, but this year has been like a wave of news, so I will look up and find out in a second. I may be crazy. I thought it had a release date. Yeah, October 28th.
It's October 28th?
October 28th, 2021.
Oh. but they haven't said if. But do you see? But you haven't seen that on any website yet, have you?
For physical, you mean, or like just any release date, like confirmation?
No, physically.
Physically, that was going back to what I said about the Play Asia thing of like it might just be through them. I know Asia is getting like its own retail version for PS4 and Switch, and the only place who's had anything for the English version is Play Asia. They're the only ones who've said anything about it, but that's why I was more kind of thinking of like they probably have something like a requisite deal of like, hey, we're going to be the distributor for that one, because I know with like Atelier 1 and 2, those Switch collections, they paid to make those, because Koei Tecmo didn't. Well, justifiably so, because those were like $90 games, because it was a very expensive Switch cart to order for like 3 full price games. So that was one of those weird ones of like, hey, this would not work at retail, but if you want to pay for 5,000 $90 Switch games, go for it. And I mean, they're just going to take the money anyway. So at the end of the day, it's for a publisher. Like if you're like a relatively niche or like kind of popular publisher, it's got to be kind of nice for like companies to just come up to you and be like, hey, we want to make an exclusive version of your game to sell. Like, because like looking at like who you guys work with, like P-Cube and stuff, you guys have had exclusive releases only sold on your store, right? Like I think you guys had like a Switch game that was like that.
We actually we still have some. We made an exclusive Tokyo School Life.
And,
That was actually our print.
So for exclusive prints for you guys, like, have you guys just been doing that thing of, like, I guess in terms of like run size, like, how do you guys determine like what's like a good amount for you of like just do minimum and see where to go from there, or like how have you guys kind of decided for like knowing how much to print without going too low or too high?
Well, if you, I mean, any print in the world, like every publisher is different. Sony has a minimum, Nintendo has a minimum. So the minimum print on, I think most people do about 5,000 for Switch. I'm not sure why it's that, but most people do that.
It's like the weirdest aside. So all of those companies' minimum print runs are all NDA'd to hell. But the funniest thing is, like, I feel like it's the easiest NDA to break, because if you just look at what all these companies do for each region, it's like, well, if America's only making 5,000 copy Switch games for a really niche Switch game, it's probably because that's the fewest they could. Like, I know for certain in Europe is actually the cheapest place to do Switch games, because they're only 3,000. You can get away with only 3,000 copies over in Europe, whereas Asia and America is 5,000.
Right. I think I've heard something like that. Yeah. Yeah. So when we did that title, we had to make 5,000, and a lot of it's just for because of the minimum. And even when we did it at the time, because we're Canadian and no, at the time a lot of people hadn't heard of us. A lot of people were in shock that it was even possible, right? But anything's possible, really.
Yeah.
And it was one of those games we took on a whim because it had released digitally at the time, and P-Cube had no plans to make a physical at that time, and we were very well known at that time for a lot of their visual novel type games like Steins Gate and Root Letter,
Galgun,
Chaos Child, Galgun, right? So a lot of people already kind of knew that we carried a lot of the niche and the visual novel type games. So, and because it was it was actually a really good reviewed game on Steam as well, because I had a prior Steam release before the Switch release. So we just we took a chance and we made it, right. A lot of people still pick it up to this day, because really, it's a lot of people come to our website and buy other limited print companies and other regular game releases, and they just throw it in their shopping cart. It's just an extra game that you can't really get anywhere else.
Yeah, that's like got to be like such an easy value proposition of just being like, well, if I can only ever get, because like normally for me, the only reason I don't pick up something even if it's like on a really good discount sale is if I'm like, well, I'll find it somewhere else another time or something like that. Whereas like yeah, those exclusives you look at and just go like, just get it now. I'm never gonna see this anywhere else, and this way I have it and don't have to ever worry about it.
Right. So, and the thing is, when if we decide we're gonna put it on sale, it's us putting it on sale.
Hmm.
So it's not like somebody who bought it at a higher price and then now is just you know liquidating it for 99 cents somewhere.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah,
It's like,
we're not gonna see any. We're not gonna see any VGP titles like for $5 on a GameFly like for the
no.
next like year.
Like we have had it on sale a few times
Hmm.
over the years. Like during our big sales like Boxing Week and Black Friday, stuff like that. But it hasn't been on sale for a while. But maybe soon.
So for the kind of like breakdown, I'm not sure how much you would really know on your end. Do you guys have like a larger focus in terms of like people who buy from you? Is it mostly North American? Is there like a larger Canadian or an American presence of like who buys from you guys? Hilariously, I had to convince someone to buy from you recently, and they were like, most of my friends are worried about buying stuff from like Play Asia because it's like halfway across the world. They don't really know about like if you've never bought from them before, like their shipping stuff may be a little like weird or confusing, and they were like, oh well, I don't really know. I'm not certain about that. I had to explain to a friend of mine in Malaysia that buying through you guys was okay. Like I've never had to explain to this the other way around of like someone from Asia ordering from you guys, but like I'm sure you all have shipped like all over the place. Like you guys are always really active on social media of like if anyone tags you on anything, you'll usually always like reply or like it and stuff like that. So like have you been like surprised where like your customers sort of come from or like where the majority of them are located?
No, I mean we've always been known as like an international import website. A lot of especially over the last decade, a lot of customers from Europe, the United Kingdom, all over the world really come to our website a lot of times because a lot of websites just don't like dealing with any of the headaches of like some of the international shipping, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's you probably see a lot of comments where this game comes out and they a lot of people that are our fans they always ask all these publishers like, well, Video Games Plus have it. And sometimes it catches us off guard. So yeah, I mean we're not really surprised. We are trying to expand our business into the U.S. I mean we ship into the U.S. With USPS, so it's literally like you're buying from the U.S. because you get the same kind of tracking and all that right away. And most customers that have given us the opportunity to prove ourselves, like they're not disappointed. They always keep coming back. Um, and sometimes that was the issue that we had with our old site is a lot of people because of the nature of how it looked. A lot of times people, they were like, I never heard of these guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
So and we're just trying to change that now. That's why we're trying to do more partnerships, more working with our limited print partners, and just trying to keep everybody in the know, right? Trying to do reprints, just trying to give gamers a fighting chance out there,
Yeah, and like one of the funny things is kind of talk about all the different like avenues you guys sell stuff through. Um, a weird one for me was looking through my eBay purchases recently, and the amount of times I have bought something through your eBay store without realizing I was buying it from you guys. Like I think I bought like Sword Art Online on Vita was like cheaper to buy the European copy through you guys than anywhere else, but I had no idea it was through you guys, which was like so funny because then I was like, oh well, I could have could have just done it through the website or whatever. But like, it's so rare that you're ever like looking at someone. It's so rare. Like when you're buying something on eBay, you're normally like, okay, is this a scam? Is this a good price? And does it look legit? You're never really looking at who it's from, though.
Right, exactly. So, and that's the thing. I mean, we're trying to grow our social media presence. We do constant email blasts to get people, knowing what we have and if there's any new promotions or sales. A lot of people, because the problem is a lot of times promotions and stuff could just get lost, right? And like on a massive website like Amazon or even eBay or any of the major competitors, sometimes sales just get like lost in the fray, and you miss out on it because there's not like a real big focus, right, on what is on sale. So when we try to do a big sale, we try to pinpoint particular products and kind of hammer down, hey, focus here. This is what's on sale. And a lot of people come in, they buy the thing on sale, and and then they come back later and they're like, oh yeah, I forgot to pick up this, or I forgot to pick up that, or they leave stuff in their shopping cart and come back another day to add another thing before they check out. So
I have to let you know, just because I have been doing this entire call while still on your website. I want you all to know, unless like this might not be news to you or whatever, or just a PSA to everyone out there. We talk about the PlayStation Vita on this show way too much because it's like my favorite system of all time. You guys probably have like legitimately like the best stock of Vita games in terms of like stock and price out of everyone online, because everywhere else has basically been picked dry. And even though like it's funny, like I say that, like you guys probably have like maybe something like 50 different games in stock, which doesn't really sound like that much, but because like when there was that whole Vita store scare, all the Vita games just poofed out of existence from any stores they were at. Online prices went up like crazy, and then anywhere you could find them, the prices were normally really, really gouged up. And what's nice is like the only thing I can kind of see that was raised up in price is like one instance, and I'm guessing just because it was so weirdly high up to find, which was like Senran Kagura Estival Versus was like 180 Canadian, and I mean even that one, it was like, yeah, that was like that's what it's going for. But I'm like, everything else of like is below MSRP, if not at MSRP. Like for you guys, is that ever like hard of like when you have a stock of a certain item that is going for more everywhere else? How do you guys kind of decide, well, if it's selling for this online, why not make it that price on our store?
Sometimes it's like a gray, like obviously if it's a common item, but it just becomes like a hot ticket item online. Sometimes if we're getting down to a certain amount of quantity and you can never get it again, like a particular box set or launch edition, sometimes it's not worth putting it online at a ridiculous price.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of something like what you mentioned with the Senran Kagura, sometimes it's, well, if you have like 2 or 3 pieces and that's the going rate, right? It's just you're in the warehouse anyway. If somebody was buying it from our website, and at least they can, add another 5 games to it and, and ship it all together, right? Versus you're buying, if you were buying that game from a vendor on eBay, for instance, you're buying it from somebody that you really don't know, but if you're a regular customer on our website and you trust our services, at least you buy it from somebody you trust, right?
Yeah, and I mean it's even kind of funny with some of the weirder cases. Like, you guys have been carrying a lot of the East Asia Soft Play Asia Vita titles for pretty much over the last like year and a half now on your website. And those were never known for like selling out really fast, even though these are like some of the rarest Vita games out there. Of like, they have the lowest print run possible of like sometimes 1,000 or less. And then like, it has been kind of funny of like now in the pandemic, you'll see these titles that like something like a random thing like Roommates or My Aunt is a Witch or whatever, or Death Tales is still in stock, but then as soon as you get in like a couple weeks back, Indigo 7, instantly gone. Brotherhood United, instantly gone. Like, selling out within, like, 5 minutes. And, like, you guys have even a smaller allotment than, like, what PlayAsia has. Like, you guys, it's not like you guys are getting in a crazy number.
No. But one thing we did do, and we had this option on our previous site, is we limit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I can't speak of PlayAsia's shopping cart experience, but we sometimes you're able to obtain something, but it's not really fair, for somebody to come on and buy like 30 pieces of a title. So when we have already a limited amount of how many we have, we'd rather make 100 customers happy than make 3 customers happy.
Yeah,
So,
no, exactly.
Now, and a lot of times, if it's a title, and our limits, vary between different titles. So sometimes we determine, we'll say it's like limit 2 per customer, or 3 per customer, or 1 per customer. So, and you know what? Because if we had it wide open, we would probably last 3 minutes, right?
Yeah, it's like again, it's like the idea of there are millions of this system out there, and even if there's only thousands of Vita collectors out there right now, 1,000 copies, like, you've got to actively offend people to, like, not just instantly sell out. Like, it's just like just the way the market is right now. I find it so funny. I'm not sure if you would know the info off the top of your head or would be allowed to say, so if not, no worries at all. For the PlayAsia stuff, like, what, like, number-wise, like, are you guys getting in the double digits, or, like, what are you getting in of these? Because I'm always so curious of, like, if they're only making 1,000, like, how many are you guys actually getting? Because no other retailer gets PlayAsia stuff besides them and you guys, at least that I'm aware of.
I'm not at liberty to say.
That is okay. I mean, hey, it's 1,000 either way. It's just one of those kind of funny little weird ones. The other thing is, because you were mentioning the warehouse, this reminded me. All of these games got printed earlier this year, and I know for at least at PlayAsia, they just have a warehouse of all of their leftover Vita games. They're just like selling for like 2 a month until they're out, because I think they have like another 10 or so left. Because you guys have like that partnership, did they just do like one big massive shipment of, okay, here's your allotment, and then they just shipped them all over for you guys, or are they shipping them 2 a month piecemeal for you guys?
No, they are all these games that they make. It's their titles. We find out when you find out.
See, I was thinking that then there is the chance of then, like, there's just 2 warehouses with these games. Just one day, this is the December title. He's gonna go on sale soon.
No, because sometimes they have, they've been doing Switch games, PS4 games as well. They do a lot of really good games, and we partner with all of them. Because I mean, a lot of people in Canada and the US, purchase games from them, or we're just, an alternate choice. If if you're buying other things from us, we just like, it's just that opportunity to buy, a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Yeah, no, yeah, and I mean, multiple options, especially in the world of collecting, is never really going to be a bad thing. Going actually kind of on that topic of multiple retailers, you guys aren't always like the first to get like a big drop, especially for like a hot AAA or big title or collector's thing. I think it is safe to say, and I'm very biased, I think it is safe to say that it was kind of crazy that you all were the first retailer up for SMT5's Collector's Edition earlier in, like, I think it was June when that went up. Was that one of those things of, like, were you surprised how fast that kind of turned into a shit show? Because I had talked to people at Sega and Atlas who were like, oh, it should be okay. Like, they were like, I think we made enough. Like, our numbers are pretty conservative. Like, at the time, they had thought they printed too many before they went on sale, and I just remember thinking, like, oh, this is aged very poorly, and it was like just day one. Like for that situation, I don't know like how much you were kind of involved with it, but were you guys surprised, especially being the first online retailer selling that collector's edition, just how ravenous the demand was for it?
No, we kind of expected it. I mean, it had a really good presence in the Nintendo Direct. So we knew that even the standard version would sell very well.
Mm-hmm.
We came out of the gate. Well, one of the things like I'm the one of my jobs is I try to facilitate working with our partners to make sure that when they have announcements that they go live when they want them to go live. So we just unfortunately in the world of online sometimes dealing with a large company like like Amazon or Best Buy or anything, sometimes it's just such an automated process that something happens and their listing isn't up, and sometimes we luck out and we're up first, and we tweet it first and stuff like that. Sometimes it just takes other vendors a few days to get the information and get things going because they're dealing with way more vendors and other, but because we kind of focus a lot on particular partnerships, so I just try to give a little more focus to the guys that we work with.
Yeah, and I mean one of the funny things about that is the bar was very low. You were the only company communicating in terms of North America of like, hey, we have stock. It's one per customer. We've got to stop stock, blah, blah, blah. Whereas, like, Amazon threw it up randomly, like, a week and a half later. Best Buy and Target were all, like, who knows where they're at. And I mean, hey, it's not their jobs to promote listings for other companies. Like, it's not like it's on them. At the end of the day, it is on the publisher. But it was nice, and I hope that it's kind of shown to you guys that while people have been pissed about how that collector's edition sold out so fast, I've never once heard a bad thing about you guys, because the way you did it was you guys did everything to the best of your ability. You communicated it with us. People like me and other people in the community spread that as quickly as we could. You had it limited to one per person, so it was like you guys hit every box and were that one out of everyone else kind of just throwing it out to the wind whenever they really wanted to. So at least I wanted to kind of let you guys know, thank you for at least kind of knowing that was going to be a big thing, limiting that sale and making that go to as many good homes as possible, because I know so many people are so quickly nowadays to just assume, oh, it's sold out, it's just, oh, it all went to scalpers or whatever.
Right. I mean, I'm not sure if I didn't really monitor the situation with Amazon afterwards. I'm not sure if they did any limits or anything like that.
No, I have personal confirmations of friends being like, I got 3. Yeah, Amazon very rarely limits, and they definitely didn't on that one.
Oh, okay. But I think a lot of people were commenting at the time, like GameStop sold out really quickly, and yeah, it was a very popular title for Sega.
So a weird one for you guys, because not only were you all the first, you were the first ones who actually were requested to stop taking orders in. Has there been any update from you guys of because in Europe and in Japan, it's kind of gone in waves of okay, we're taking orders, we're stopping. We're taking orders, we're stopping. Whereas the West was each store had their 1 or 2 times and then never anymore. Have you guys been trying to see about getting any other copies? Because I know on their end, everything else I have seen on the production side of Atlas is they're just trying to produce as many of every edition as possible. But obviously, trying to make anything happen physically in the year 2021 is already hard enough. Ordering something like a collector's edition with a ton of components and stuff in there is just a kind of a nightmare escape. But for you guys, is there any chance of potentially having more or another opening window of ordering more collector's editions?
We've reached out, but we haven't heard anything yet.
Okay. I will say it was one of those funny things of I've been following this situation so I'm trying to think of like the least insulting word to describe it for me. Like, I've been like stalking this whole situation like on the nth degree because it's been so weird for all manner of people. Of like, I will have people from Europe reaching out to me asking when collector's editions are going up. Asia like has no idea. Like outside of Japan, like Asian English speaking territories didn't know if they were going to get it at all, and stuff like that. And it was so funny. If we had a like podcast or something live, and I was describing to people because Nintendo in Europe is the publisher of that game, and they're making all of those collector's editions and stuff like that. That literally within like 12 hours of me telling people, hey, more copies are going up, Nintendo in Germany were just like, okay, everybody, we're gonna open up the floodgates, and they like took pre-orders for like almost 48 hours. It was one of those like funny things of like, man, I probably should dedicate my brain power and like life energy to more than just this one dumb thing, but it was one of those funny, weird cases of like, hey, at least it worked out for this one region. If this one region got it for a really long time, at least everyone else got it. But I mean, that's always kind of got to be one of those weird ones for you guys of like, you have customers who would keep buying this if you could, but it's just totally out of your control of like, you can't like take anyone else's allotments. Like you get what you're given, and that's usually it.
Right. And I mean it's fair. I mean it's fair because we were out of the first ones out of the gate, and we have our allocated stock, and we haven't gone around like emailing everybody to cancel orders or anything like that.
Oh my god, yeah, you don't want to be that guy. No one wants to be.
And for us, like we've been in this business too long to know how to treat customers. So that's the last thing we would ever want to do. So that's why a lot of times until we get confirmation of a particular title, we try not to like even blast it out or take pre-orders on it, just because from a customer service standpoint, it's just a nightmare, right? Having to tell customers, oh, sorry, this game that we thought was coming out or that we could get stock of, now we can't. So it's better just to know when you can get something to sell it.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know have you ever had that happen of like you got something, you were really excited about it, and then when you finally get it, it just like, no, and then like it basically gets pulled under, like the rug gets pulled under you at the last second.
Me myself?
Yeah, you personally.
No, unfortunately, luckily I never had that issue happen to me.
The last time that happened to me was a very painful one. It was, I don't know if you remember this, when Kingdom Hearts 3 was going to come out in like 2019, GameStop had the exclusive PlayStation 4 Pro bundle, which yeah. And that was like literally 2 days before the game came out. They emailed, I think they had oversold by 70%. They just emailed everyone, being like, hey, it's not happening. Like, they mass canceled so much, we legitimately, like, there was a rumor going around that, like, maybe they just didn't produce any at all, or, like, something crazy happened. And it was one of those ones of, like, man, that, the only thing that sucked more than losing that pre-order, I think, was me paying, like, $900 on it for eBay, but that's because I am really stupid and I really, really wanted that PS4 Pro. But yeah, that is, and that's also one of those things that, like, as a retailer, you really got to look out for, because when moments like that happen, most people, their first response is this: fuck that company, I'm never buying from them ever again. Even though they didn't lose money, like, it's not like they charged you and then had to refund you. It's just like that one bad trip or that one bad day. And then some people will just, like, avoid, like, certain companies, like, for the rest of their lives. Or, if not, for a very long time.
Right. Yeah, completely kind of off topic. Let me ask you a question. So your Shin Megami Tensei 5 Premium, is it pre-ordered with us or Amazon?
You know what? It was not with you guys. I was in that weird case of, I was getting other people copies that I didn't have time to get any for myself. By the time I was going to put one in, I was like, oh, okay, because I think you guys maybe lasted like 90 minutes to maybe like 2 hours or something. Like, I know it wasn't long, but it wasn't like short.
Yeah, it was about I would say I think it was almost close to 2 hours.
Yeah, the only reason I got the Amazon one was because I was at work. I was at work every time any of those went up. I was always at work. Um, the Amazon one got up, and it was very easy to just go like the boom, add to cart, because you don't have to do any, like, no money taken out, no whatever. Added that to that one, and then went on. Because, I mean, for as much as people were kind of mad about how quick Amazon went, the thing with Amazon was Amazon hypothetically should be the first and fastest retailer to sell out possible. And even Amazon was in stock for like almost 30 minutes. So it was one of those things of, especially because like, at the end of the day, even if like I miss out on like a big like collector's edition, I know that I would rather suck it up and just pay a little bit more online just to get it and not have to look any longer, than have to stress over it. Because I think a lot of people get in that cycle of, oh my god, I missed it, and now I have to spend the rest of my life F5ing to get this item, or else I feel like it's just not worth getting it all, which I don't like that feeling.
Right. Yeah, I've never had to experience that feeling for myself personally. So, but I can. I mean, I can imagine if going through that frustration if you just want something because you're a fan,
Mm-hmm.
the series and not being able to get one. Like, I can understand that frustration.
Yeah, and I think as well, because of like how long I've kind of worked in this community, because it's not like there's one centralized hub. When I see something go live and I want to spread it to everyone, it's like, okay, do Facebook, because we have like a Facebook group with almost like 9,000 members. Do Twitter, because there's like 6,000 or 7,000 people there. Do YouTube, where there's like another couple thousand. Do Discord, do like Patreon, do whatever. Because it's one of those things of like, it is my job to be following this, and I would hate for anyone. Well, I say job, like I actually make that many money from this, but it's one of those things of like, I've been a collector long enough to know that it's not fun to press the F5 button all day looking for something, and I got more happiness from other people getting copies from you guys at first, or when Best Buy and Target and Amazon went up. Like, that makes me happier than when I got my copy, it was like, cool. I wasn't like that happy when I saw all of my friends getting it and like sending them like Facebook Messenger links. Like that makes me happier than me getting a copy.
Yeah.
But yeah, as someone who has not had that feeling, yeah, just keep it that way. You're not missing out. There's no good level of FOMO that's gonna come from that. I very much guarantee.
Yes. Yeah.
If you still have some time, I got a couple of listener questions, though, for you if you are able to answer them.
Yeah, I can try.
All right, so I'm going to pull up from, let's see, let's just do Twitter, because Twitter is up right away first off. So here's one that I'm not sure if you'll have an answer for, but I might be able to help out. This one came from Fairy Jack Frost. I said, why are there some sealed 3DS games on the market that are not Y-fold, especially with something like Persona Q? Are all of them resealed by the seller, or do you have any insight?
I'm assuming they're talking about like the vacuum seal.
Yeah, so certain ones, for whatever reason, especially recently, people have been finding games that are vacuum sealed and not that tight Y-fold. And I think it's caused a lot of confusion of like, oh, is it still official or not?
Sometimes I mean, that can happen even with used to happen a lot with PS2 games.
Oh my god, yeah. PS2 was like the Wild West, man. They could put them in a plastic sandwich baggie for all we knew back then.
And there has been some Nintendo Switch games from some vendors as well that have not had the white fold, but had like the shrink wrap effect. Sometimes it really, honestly, just comes down to the packing facility.
Yeah, and obviously a large part of that is like, it's not like it's a company or a vendor thing. Even a lot of it is just
it could vary based on the vendor, like what packing facility they use. So it's kind of hit and miss, really.
Yeah, like
There's no way to really
even
control
something
it.
like Sony. Sony technically, unless there's weird examples where there's only like 2 games I know that Sony printed in heat shrink wrap. Sony always produces all of their physical stuff plastic Y-fold. That's just how they do everything. Unless in like in weird circumstances. The last time I remember it happening hilariously was the winter/fall season of 2017 or 18, whatever year Destiny 2 came out. Whatever year Destiny 2 came out, that fall just had such a back order of everything. Like Sony literally had to like hire another printing facility, and they didn't get the memo about no Y-fold. I mean, about only Y-fold. But even then, in situations like that, like you'll look at companies like I Am 8-Bit. I Am 8-Bit, when they get some of their games in because they want to have a different feeling like cover material that Sony doesn't provide, they rip off all the Y-fold, put in their special paper cover art or inserts, and then seal it again. And that sometimes might not be a Y-fold and might just be like a shrink wrap. So it's one of those weird ones of like, I think for some really anal collectors, they want to know, is this legit or is this not? I'm thankfully not a sealed collector. My goal at the end of the day is, does it work and is it the official art? Because really, I could kind of care less for it. But with the specific example they were saying, every copy I've ever seen of Persona Q or anything Atlas has always been Y-fold. I'm sure something could change, but I think especially with like the secondhand market, and basically anything Nintendo handheld, it is just too easy to make like fake reproductions of. I'm always really cautious of that. Like that's why I'm like kind of glad I'm not a hardcore Nintendo collector, and if I was, I feel like I'd have like serious trust and doubt issues about if it was ever legit.
Right. Yeah. That's. It really that all comes down to collecting.
Mm-hmm.
If you particular like you said, if you're just out there to get the game, then the wrapping doesn't really matter if you're gonna open it. But if you're collecting, and you want a particular Y fold or that's when you tend to have to like find it online and ask for a lot of pictures or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Itchy X, we had already kind of talked about any other Atlas reprints happening, but they did want to say that that you guys are usually their go-to for picking up repros, such as like we were talking about with Yakuza and Nier. I kind of wanted to like spur that into like a second question. Is that like a good feeling, like when you like have like people like posting about like, hey, thank you guys for like reprinting this or like helping me get this at like a good price, that's kind of got to be like sort of like what I was talking about earlier of like helping other people getting stuff for their collection without kind of getting screwed over, but like just on a more daily basis.
Yeah. We do it obviously. We want people to play games, right? We sell them, but we also want to. We're also trying to expand our customer base, right?
Mm-hmm.
Today you come and buy Nier and Drakengard, and hopefully tomorrow you come and buy something else, right?
Yeah.
We'll always have different games, so it's just we're not looking to just be a one and done with customers. So we're trying to build that experience that we got you a great game at great games at a great price, and you can maybe that was what drew you to the site to kind of get to know us, but hopefully it wasn't the last experience.
So a couple other questions. We've got some from Discord. These, let's see. First one is by Elite 4bin, says, at least from your side, what is the process kind of like from like asking about it or ordering them to you getting them? Like how long time wise do reprints usually take for you all to get them in hand?
Well, a re, if we ask and it's approved, it all depends on what platform. Sony could take anywhere. Sony takes about a month, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes shorter depending on how busy what time of year it is. And Nintendo, because the carts come from Japan and then have to get packed up in a facility. Sometimes they can take 2 to 3 months, depending on the time of the year, really.
Now, this one is no specific series, so I don't know if making it more vague will lead to a hopefully happier answer for this person. But they were also curious, as of right now, not counting what's already for sale on the website, do you guys have plans to still print more 3DS and PS3 games in the pipeline?
No comment.
That's okay. I will say, and one of the big things of like why I kind of wanted to do this episode, so many people don't know that 3DS games can still be printed. They just kind of assumed, oh, well, Sony stopped doing Vita, and Vita wasn't really that popular in 2019, so clearly, like, the 3DS must have been stopped forever ago. Like, Nintendo will print Wii U and Wii games. Like, you give Nintendo money, like, if you have the rights in a publishing agreement, like, Nintendo will let you print whatever you want. So I think because fans don't know that online, there's this usually big misconception of, oh, they're out of print and nothing more can be done, you know?
Right. Well, Wii games were done last year.
They're done last year? Okay. That I didn't know, but I'm gonna be honest, I don't follow Nintendo manufacturing that hard enough, but I at least know I think at least still Wii U games are still being made, because I think there might actually be like one more coming.
That could be possible. I'm not sure.
Okay, it's a mixed answer. I know why I got confused on this, because we're both right and we're both wrong. We stopped in America. Wii is still going in Europe. That's why I got confused. But it's region locked, so that kind of makes it really confusing. Wii U is still going for both countries, though. That's where I got confused, because Retro City Rampage did their Wii and Wii U release last year.
Yes, yeah. I was aware of those, yeah.
I mean, hey, I hope like there was that full set Wii collector or Wii U collector out there that like when that got announced, that just like made their day. Like I can finally buy something that's not Just Dance. Like my collection will have something new in it that's exciting.
Right. I think there was another game that I think Limited Run finally came out with this year. I think it was Axiom. Was it Axiom Verge?
Axiom Verge was a weird one. Of Axiom Verge, they did 2019. They did to 2019, although, fun fact, those discs were done like 2 years before they sold them. And it was just huge, big drama between them and the supposed to be publisher of it, Badland Games. But that's its own very weird, long tale of companies fighting each other, which doesn't really matter.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, yeah, 3DS. People still make 3DS to this day, right? So a lot of people just assume that you just can't, right? I mean, some platforms like PS2 stopped years ago. DS stopped years ago. So
I would actually. I kind of wish I knew what like the last DS game was. I think because we didn't really like follow manufacturing printing the way we do now with all these limited releases and stuff. Like I feel like it's probably an answer you could find with enough research, but like because numbers aren't really as like definite and stuff for it, like no one was really paying attention to like what's the rarest DS game or what's the rarest like PS2 game, even though it's probably not that exciting of an answer at the end of the day.
right, because the last game on the DS could be a game that's nobody even plays, right?
Yeah, like
some odd
like
party time.
There's this Kickstarter game I always forget about, and I'm hoping to remember. DS Kickstarter game, as I'm going to look it up now. This guy, here we go, Diamond Trust of London by Jason Roher. It is a game that was kickstarted in 2014, and this guy had to order so many DS games because the minimum quantity order was so high. He still has copies in his garage, and if you go to his website, he will ship them to you from his garage. Like, he has that many, and this was a 2014 game. Like, this isn't even 10 years old yet.
Right. But it was like at the time, I guess it was an indie game, right? So You know, the indie scene is really hot now, but I guess back in the day when he was doing that title, it wasn't so hot.
No, but I mean,
Um,
that's at least got to be like one of those kind of like funny things of like, obviously he did Kickstarter, so it's not like he's really like lost any money on it for it, but it's just kind of one of those like funny things of like, I bet he looks at like games like the way they do like their releases now, and even how Kickstarter does their physical only copies. He's like, oh, if I only waited, if I only waited like one more generation, I wouldn't have a garage full of my own game.
right.
Another one. These are from Facebook. I think these are no. These are our second to last areas for question. Aaron Dennis didn't actually have a question, but he did want to thank you. He got his copy of the SMT5 Collector's Edition through all of you. That is their first purchase from you, and just because I'm not like this will make that much of a difference, but it says hopefully you will ship it early. It's probably out of your control, but it is always one of those like funny things of like, oh hey, if I order from like a small shop, maybe they'll ship it early. Like, have you guys ever had like weird like customer support emails of being like, hey, can you guys like ship me this like a day or two early so I get it on release day?
We actually try to do that. If we do get a title early, like we try to ship it as to get it into gamers' hands as close to release date as we can. It doesn't happen with every vendor because some vendors, you know, sometimes it's completely out of their control. It's just because logistics, especially now with COVID. Sometimes if we get the game on the release date, sometimes we're lucky, especially with smaller publishers. But with games like a lot of the direct publishers we work with, we try to get the titles in our warehouse at least maybe a week before, so we can ship our orders out, to Canadians and U.S. Customers, so they get it, close, or if it arrives the day after, street date, that's way better than waiting, weeks and weeks afterwards. So we try our best. We have done in the past where we've timed it pretty good to get titles out. And I mean, in terms of stuff like our limited prints, as soon as we get it in our warehouse, because there is really no street date or release date, we just ship it out as soon as it comes into our warehouse.
Mm-hmm. You had brought up a thing that I was trying to think if I wanted to comment on. Oh no, I was trying to decide if I'd asked you this. If I had, please let me know and scold me, or if not, and this is a no question, also feel free to shoot me down immediately. Why am I totally forgetting his name? Because I'm going to feel really bad about this, because I actually know him, so I don't feel like a absolute ding-dong. Here we go. There we go. All right. So yeah, Stephen Yip asked a couple of the stuff we had talked about with the SMT5 Collector's Edition, but I wasn't sure if I'd already asked you this. But are you guys able to disclose like how many of your allotment were you guys able to actually sell through?
We've pretty much sold through whatever we were allotted.
Well, I guess sorry. I should have phrased it differently. Number wise, like was there like a range? Like is it around like 1,000, 5,000? Like what was that kind of number at in terms of digits?
Not at liberty to say.
That's okay. I figured with something like that, but then it was also one of those ones of like watch, be like, oh, I've never been asked that before. No, because it's really funny. Like most cases, no, if I went to a grocer, it was like, how many oranges do you order? They're like, oh, no one asked me that question. I'm sure I could ask, but no one's asked before. Another question. These I think we got like 4 or so left. These are the last ones from YouTube. This one like just came in from Jimmy Star, who says, I noticed on the Video Games Plus website that you guys actually have a pretty good supply of SMT titles for the 3DS listed on there. Are these a recent one? Was this just inventory you had for a while now? So yeah, like going off of what your website has right now, you guys still have Devil Survivor Overclocked, Persona Q, Etrian Odyssey 5, SMT4, Apocalypse, and even Strange Journey Redux. So like, are any of those like a recent thing you may have picked up but just didn't like really advertise, or?
I can't remember if it's older stock from a reprint we did a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really sure because I'm not the one that actually does the purchasing, so I don't know how current that stock is. But we're always looking at doing reprints on anything that can be done. So I don't really know if I have an exact answer on that, but we do have them in stock. We don't have insane quantities on them, but we have them up so people can buy them. Like I said, it's similar to how you can buy them from us where you trust us, or you buy them off some random seller.
Yeah. And also, I do want to give it a little bit of a shout out. I should have said this when I searched it up. Oh, it's because of the publisher thing. I'd only typed in Atlas Games. You guys do still have Persona Q2 in stock. I don't know how many copies you have, but even at 75 Canadian, that is still way cheaper than everyone else selling it online. And just a heads up, because people don't really know this, that is like the rarest Atlas 3DS game by a long shot. They did not print a lot of those because it was 2019 in the 3DS, so I would recommend all of those games people pick up because they're good. But if you're one of those people who worry about FOMO and missing out on something or want to get it at a not terrible price, you guys actually do have a pretty decent price for most of the really annoyingly hard to get 3DS stuff. So next up, I had a question from Red Mirian, which is actually more of a shout out. They said they got the Fall of Man from you, and I don't know what this dates me with. When I read this, I thought, oh, they ordered a copy of Resistance 1 from your website. Wow, that's a weird thing to give a shot. I forgot what the collector's edition to SMT5 was called. I thought someone was ordering a copy of Resistance 1 from your website and got very happy for a second. But you did kind of talk about how you all plan on shipping things on release day, and in terms of getting it to people as soon as you humanly can. Oh, that reminded me, because I used to work at a game store. I totally feel you in terms of sometimes the smaller publishers, it is you are getting it down to the wire. There were some releases where we would be in our retail store for maybe a Natsume or an Idea Factory game, especially when Idea Factory started as a publisher in 2014, where you would get their copy at noon the day of release. It's all right, it's coming in hot. We're getting it as quickly as possible, because it's not like they were just sitting there in a warehouse, not going anywhere for a while. It was just that down to the wire.
Well, from a game store's perspective, I'm not sure what video game store you worked at, if it was a GameStop or an independent. But a lot of times, when you're buying through a sub distributor, a lot of times those sub distributors, they have to oblige by a street day policy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So giving a video game store a game way too early. Some people just want to be I have it, I want to just sell it right away. So a lot of times, especially with the small publishers, they just don't want it to be, they just don't want their games out early, and then because they're so niche, or because they're such, limited quantities, because they don't have a bigger, as big print run as a Call of Duty or something. They just don't want it to be an unfair advantage that somebody just happened to be there a week early and the store had it, and then when the person comes on street date, they're like, "Oh, sorry, we sold out a week ago because we got it early."
No, yeah, you never want that one. Our last question is hopefully the easiest one. It's by Jack Reese, who just asked, "How is your day going? And what games are you looking forward to in 2022?"
Well, I'm a big Nintendo Switch fan myself, so I'm looking forward to the new Mario Party. I'm Love playing all of them and backstabbing my
Oh
friends.
my god, I forgot that's coming out this year. Wow. I was like, did you mean WarioWare? Like, no, yeah, there's a new Mario Party this year. Wow, I totally blanked out on that release.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I play my family plays a lot of the first one already on Switch. And then, now they announced the new one. I mean, I still haven't had any time. I'm a huge Zelda fan, but I haven't had time to play Breath of the Wild. So maybe I'll get
Wow.
around to before the sequel comes out.
That you
uh,
are definitely in the minority there. When I find people who own a Switch and haven't played it, I'm always like, whoa, like, do you not like it? And they're like, no, I just haven't played it yet. Like, I wish I could go back in time and experience that game for the first time. That's crazy.
I think one of my biggest conundrums is I bought it. I bought the Zelda Breath of the Wild Special Edition,
Mm-hmm.
which came out on a pre-order, and I have it factory sealed. So do I open it?
Rip it open, man. Enjoy the game. Be underwhelmed by
Or,
that
or
really awkwardly childlike Switch case.
do
Now,
I just pick up a used somewhere
well,
just to play it?
I gotta ask you though. Is it the special edition that came in the really big tall box, or is it the collector's edition that comes with the super big statue?
No, the one that comes in the tall box, not the one that has the
Okay,
statue.
doubly open up. Doubly open it up. Yeah. If it was the statue, I would kind of get why you don't want to like open it because I have the
Yeah.
statue one and like it's actually a really really nice display. The special edition, yeah, rip it open. Yeah, because I
Uh,
honestly a used copy like still goes for like 45, $50, so you're really not gonna save yourself any money.
right, right. But I think the value on it's like it keeps climbing, I guess.
So yeah, Switch stuff is always crazy of like what will retain its value. Like I had to explain Pokken Tournament to my wife because she likes Pokemon and she loves fighting games and Tekken, and she saw the same game, the Wii U version and the Switch one. The Wii U one was $20 and the Switch one was 60 still. She's like, this game's 4 years old. Why is it $60? And I'm like, it's Nintendo. They don't get to play by the rules. They get to just sell their stuff for $60 for the rest of all time. That's just how it works.
Yep. But you know what? The one thing like when I used to work in our storefront many moons ago, though, from most people that buy Nintendo back in the day anyway, are parents. And if you think about it from a parent's perspective, one thing that you can always trust with Nintendo and all hardcore gamers too that play a lot of the Nintendo first party titles, they can attest to this too, is, you know, if you tend to be one of these gamers that buy games to trade them in, knowing the fact that you bought Smash Brothers, Ultimate for Nintendo Switch, 4 years ago, and you can still maybe trade it in for a good amount of money, versus getting like $3 on a trade-in,
Hmm.
is a good feeling, right? That you could play it till you're, completely sick of it, or you've just, you know, do not want to play it anymore, or whatever reason.
Hmm.
At least with Nintendo games, you retain that value, right? So yes, you're paying the $60 for the title like at launch, but the title in 2 years is $60.
Yo, yeah. Honestly, when I worked at retail, you never had to convince someone to buy a Nintendo game. Like that name will always hold value, like for a very
Right.
considerably long amount of time and stuff like that. And then one of the other things with it as well is like I remember having, and I know this is going to sound crazy, but like you'll understand, especially like from like retail setting and stuff. Like if you were in retail when the Wii U was out, PS4 was out, Xbox One was out, I had multiple situations of talking to parents, and they're like, my son really wants a PS4 because all his friends have it, but I don't think there are games he really wants on there that are age appropriate for him. and then you would just talk to them and be like, well, it sounds like he probably wants to just play Mario Kart and whatever and stuff with you, and then people would like leave with like a Wii U and then come back the next day and buy like 4 or 5 games. And even though like they didn't buy normally more after that, it was one of those funny things of like, yeah, man, like say what you will about the Wii U and stuff, but like that was a great system for kids. Like it had a lot of problems and stuff for it, but every Wii U I ever sold to a parent wasn't like they never came back the next day. We're like, this thing sucks. Where's all the games? They're like, this is the experience me and my kids want, and we had fun with it.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, that's back in my retail days. The biggest question was like, what do I buy, an Xbox or a PlayStation or, a Nintendo? And I used to, my go-to was pretty much when it came to Sony and Xbox. I would always ask, well, what nowadays with the online servers being kind of like every game is across everything now. Which is great, like multi-plat online. But back in the day, it was like, well, are they playing Xbox Live or are they playing PSN? Or are they playing Halo? Right? I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? You pretty much buy what your friends have. Now, at least people have a little more choice, right? With all these servers, like playing Fortnite on your Xbox, and your friend has a Switch, and you can all play together. It doesn't really matter too much. It only matters on like the console exclusives.
You know what's sad? We are really talking like people who've worked retail, but then we should like also take a step back and be like, well, to be fair, we're living in a world where you can almost find no system at all. So like it's kind of like now it's like what can you find is the first question. It's like you're not gonna like have Joe Schmo walking to like Target and finding an Xbox Series X and a PS5. It's like, oh gosh, honey, I don't know what I should choose from, because like it's easy to have those hypotheticals, but it's kind of one of those ones of like the amount of people in my life I still have who are like, hey man, do you know where to get a PS5? It's like, yes, you just gotta work for it really hard if you want to get one at retail.
Well, not every, and you have to have the money for it. It's not like these systems are. The systems right now are not like the most, they're not the most cheapest systems on the market.
Well, no. Well, what's funny is like how fast, not to like get into generations talk, we have never transitioned from consoles being out of production as fast as this one. Like as soon as 2020 hit, Sony stopped making PS4s and Xbox stopped making Xbox Ones. Which, to be fair, with the like state of the world and like their focus on the new hardware, that's the smart choice to make. But normally it's been that thing of like, even when the PS3 was out, you would still be able to find a new PS2. Even with the Wii U and the Switch, like there was a while you could still find the Switch and the Wii U being sold next to each other. Whereas like that whole gap year, or like just that gap period of, well, you can get the hot new thing or you can get the cheaper old one. Whereas like now it's like, hey man, if you want an Xbox or a PS4, like you've got to buy one used. Like finding one new is just wasting money.
Yeah, I guess the advantage now, if you buy a PS5, if you find one, and you do have a massive PS4 collection, or there are great games on PS4 you wanted to play, and you find a disc version of the PS5, they all play, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It was, and they play pretty much. I'm pretty sure they're all like 100% compatible.
Yeah, the few that you couldn't play have all been either patched, fixed, or whatever. Yeah, like the only stuff you can't play is just stuff that's just not on the PlayStation Store anymore.
Right. So, and with an Xbox Series X and having that completely backwards compatible with Xbox One, really there really isn't any benefit for you to go out and buy an Xbox One, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because an Xbox Series X, you would benefit from the faster hard drive, faster processor, upscaling, if there is any, or any upgraded patch like 4K patches on the old games. So, I mean, really, it's not like, in the old days when they made PS2 to PS3, only the first PS3 models played PS2. And and even then, that functionality got removed over over time. Um, but even with the Wii, like when the Wii was ending its life cycle, they came out with the Wii Mini, which was kind of like I guess a last effort to just get the market.
You want to talk
They
about the Wii Mini being a last minute effort? Reminder: Canada got that like 2 years before the North America did. Well, sorry, before the U.S. did. So when you guys got it, it was already pretty late. We got it post Wii U. Like, it was one of those weird ones of, like, it was a Canadian exclusive for a while, like, at least a year or more, and it was one of those things of, like, man, like, the Wii Mini, because if you've ever seen a Wii Mini, like, they're really cool, like, they're an interesting, like, redesign, but it was one of those things of, by the time it came out, it's like, well, like, no one's gonna buy this, like, I never saw someone who wasn't a Nintendo collector in America with a Wii Mini, just because it was like, well, yeah, they just buy the, just buy the new one, it plays Wii games, doesn't matter.
Right. So, but at the time, it was a cheap alternative for a family to
Oh
kind of get
yeah,
in there,
like if I'm not mistaken, like
enjoy.
when it came out for you guys, it was like 2010 or something, 2010, 2011. It was like $100. You get Mario Kart Wii and that system. Like that's all you needed. Like like that thing like just sold itself because it was like this is the most basic and bare minimum Wii possible, and like that's all you had to do. Because like back then the Wii just sold itself because it was the Wii.
Right, and the Wii was a good system back then to introduce to like younger kids, like 4 or 5 year olds,
Oh yeah, and that was
and
another
because
thing
of
that parents liked the Wii Mini more because it had no internet connectivity, so you didn't have to worry about them like buying stuff or playing online with strangers.
right, exactly.
Well, I did not think we would be ending this 2-hour podcast talking about the Wii Mini, but Sydney, I'm glad we did, and I cannot thank you enough for coming on here and letting me harass you about numbers and limited print games for this long. So thank you so much for coming on and letting me harass you this late into the night.
No worries.
Just in case if anyone went and had like a Vietnam flashback, like and forgot everything we said in the beginning of the show, where would you like people to find you online or VGP online?
They can find us at videogamesplus.ca or vgp.ca for short. You can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, soon to be TikTok.
Oh my gosh, who's in charge of TikToks?
Most likely me, but I haven't figured out what I'm going to do on TikTok yet.
You'll do what Arby's did to Twitter. That'll be VGP on TikTok. You'll be that big.
But any way we can spread the word on what we're doing, we'll try to be there. So.
I will recommend, because I know you didn't mention it, and it's kind of a weird one of like selling new people on it. I see you all the most, at least posting like when stuff goes in stock on Facebook. I get you guys a lot on Facebook of like, oh, this is in stock, this is in stock, we got this now. Now, obviously, it's like everywhere for all the things for it, but like, if at least like my algorithm on Facebook at least knows like, hey, you probably want this weird PS3 like reprint. Here you go, shove that in your face.
Normally we try to tweet, Facebook, Instagram all at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
and then and email our newsletter subscribers if it's something really big. We don't try to spam people's inboxes too much. But most people that follow us on one of those three social medias. But yeah, sometimes we post specific things on Twitter, and specific things on Facebook. Like sometimes we do Twitter giveaways, which we just finished.
No More Heroes.
We just did one. No More Heroes, right? We did the No More Heroes one. And then we did our draw for the PM Studio Steelbook, from that we partnered with PM on the Friends of Ringo alternate cover reprint, and that went really well, and we plan to do more giveaways like that as well in the coming months and weeks. It's just a matter of finding, you know, a different contest that'll kind of appeal to people. And with No More Heroes 3 coming out, we just thought it made sense.
Oh yeah, that was a perfect timing one for sure.
Yeah, and we just kind of and we had also just opened up Limited Run, and that game had just come in our warehouse. No More Heroes 1 and 2 from them, so it was a good way to get to give us some lucky gamer 1, 2, and 3.
I will say, because you mentioned it, extra shout out, because I always have to give a shout out to PM Studios. All their games are so fun. They've released so many things, and we'll always have to give them an extra shout out because they were awesomely nice enough to, like, forever ago, and I say forever ago, it was 2014. I reached out to them, just like a random like email from their website, like, hey, we'd love to have someone from your company, like anyone, on our podcast sometime. And I got Michael Yum, the CEO, came on. It was one of those things of like, it's like, I would have been fine with the janitor. You did not need to give me the CEO, but it was one of those funny things of like, they are just a really cool company to work with, and also thankfully at least do good games. It'd be really awkward if I didn't like any of their games, but all of their stuff they have done are certified bangers.
Yeah, they have their next game comes out next week, Hoa, for PS4, PS5, and the Nintendo Switch.
Now,
and I think their title.
Yeah. Oh no, you go.
No, I was gonna say I think their next one is Ever Forward, I believe.
Oh yeah, for sure. I was gonna make you end because I kept thinking that this would eventually naturally come up in your introduction, and now that we're at the end, this has definitely not happened. So I have to just kind of, for my own sake, ask this for it. What is your current title at VGP? Because for all the questions I've given you, I feel like there are very few things you don't do at the company, so I'd be very curious what your official title is. And B, how many years have you actually been with the company?
I've been with the company, we're in September now, so I've been with the company for about 21 years now.
Oh my god. You started in 2000?
Oh no, sorry, no, 22 now. So 1999. So yeah, 22 years.
Damn.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to ask how old you
are? Me, I'm 41.
I'm gonna be honest. Obviously, we're just doing this over voice. Like, you could have been like, I'm 29, and I would have believed you. I would not have guessed you've been there for like half of your life. That's crazy, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I've been with the company, since we were just retailers, like, with our storefronts, and then we expanded onto online, and we've just been, pedal to the metal, and trying to expand and make partnerships with everyone, and grow as much as we can, and we have our market, and yeah, I don't really have an official title, I guess. I don't know how to say. My nickname around the office is Super Sid. I just can do everything, I guess. But I've done a little bit of everything. I guess I can say that.
Okay. No, I mean, yeah. I mean, when you have been there that long, yeah, it's kind of like a title does not really exist for all the kind of hands and fingers you get all in everything. But yeah, Sidney, thanks so much again. It was awesome talking to you. Everybody, thank you for listening to this episode. If you enjoy this very off-topic episode of the Shin Megami Tensei Network podcast, I hope you enjoyed it, or at the very least learned something. If you would like, you can follow the show on Facebook, Twitter, Discord. All the links are in the show notes below. Subscribe to YouTube, all that fun stuff. If you want to actually support the show and keep it going and stuff like that, you can go to patreon.com/SMTN. That's just patreon.com/SMTN. You can donate the show. It's been a long week, everybody. You can donate as little as $1 a month to get the show early, or you can donate $5 to become an executive producer. If you would like to be an executive producer like Jagengus, Philip, clearly not scrolling this down, Solaire and Robert Dogman or Patrick, you can get a shout out just like them. Anyway, any amount is appreciated. Sidney, you sitting down here for 2 hours is extra appreciated, so thank you so much. And now is the part where we awkwardly say goodbye to everyone else, but not actually end the phone call. So goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for listening.